welcome to another edition of Sports Check here on Ghana Web TV. My name is Daniel Ojo, and as usual, I bring you another exciting and riveting interview you don't want to miss. It's been barely 3 months that Team Ghana returned from the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Ghana returned from the Games with only one medal, but the biggest conversation has been about a visa scandal that rocked the country during the tournament. One name came up in the investigations. He was investigated by the police CID and was exonerated. Today, he shares with me the experience of being investigated, suspended, and exonerated by the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo. You don't want to miss this interview. We return, and I introduce my guest. Stay with us. You're welcome back from the break. You're still here on Sports Check on Ghana Web TV. My name is Daniel Ojo. Today, I've been privileged to be joined by the Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Mr. Honorable Pius Hadzide. He's joined us for a plethora of issues. Today, he'll open up on a lot of matters, and you don't want to miss it. Honorable, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You are a difficult man to find. How are you doing, sir?
By His grace, we are surviving. We are doing good.
I'm not a minister. Tell me, how does it feel to be a minister of a sector that is dear to the heart of many people, and many people want to see it grow?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's like being a journalist, committed to your job, wanting to make an impact, wanting to bring change, tangible change, in the field that you work in the lives of the people that you work with. And so it's nothing unusual. Wake up early, you have to do a lot of reading, you have to do a lot of consultation, and we are getting used to it. It's becoming, if you may, more interesting and challenging as the days go by. And so we are keeping our head above the waters.
You think you're doing a good job in terms of how you met the ministry and where you brought it in the 1.5 years that you've been in charge?
Well, we met this ministry, a very challenged ministry, when the Honorable Minister took over. And mind you, I'm just Deputy Minister. There's a man in the driving seat that we all ought to support, and we are doing that to the best of our abilities. When Honorable Esiama took over, this ministry was in distress, if you may. Our financial position as a ministry was not even good. We were heavily indebted. Over the year, we have tried to bring down that indebtedness. Again, even the infrastructure, the office space was not even anything to write home about. And as you climbed the stairs, I'm sure that you noticed that some renovation work is happening even here at the ministry headquarters. If you go to the agencies under us, it was the same problem. I give you a classical example of the stadium that we had, the Hinijan Stadium, for instance, was in a terrible state of disrepair. Beautiful stadium that was virtually built new, virtually, by the government of the then MPP government of His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor for the 8 years after that tenure, when our brothers and sisters in the NDC took over. Very little happened by way of renovation and maintenance. You notice that the minister also has been going around the country cutting sort for the construction of multi-purpose youth and sports centers. These centers are not just sporting facilities, they go beyond that. They are actually youth and sports resource centers. You go there, you find a counseling center where the youth can come in and get counseling, speak to their peers, speak to youth educators on career opportunities, and get guidance on career counseling and so on and so forth. But you would also find a FIFA standard playing field that has a spectator capacity of at least 5,000. And you also find a multi-track athletics tracks, multi tracks around the field. You would find multi-purpose courts that can take games like basketball, volleyball, and so on and so forth. And so, and of course, they will share that same spectator capacity of about the 5,000 people. And we are doing this simultaneously across all the 10 regions. So if you ask me, and to speak directly to your question, are we affecting and effecting the change that we were elected as a government? My straightforward answer would be that yes. And I think that the Honorable Minister deserves commendation.
That's commendable. I think the resource centers are commendable. I think it's going to be a long-lasting legacy, long after you've left office. But did you always set out to be in the sports sector? When your government won the elections and there was a chance to be a deputy minister or a minister, did you want to be in the sports sector, knowing how volatile and how passionate people can be about it?
No, it is not like I set out to be deputy minister. I did not ask for it. I'm sure that, but I've had the opportunity to have worked extensively with the then candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, currently His Excellency the President. And you notice that most of his ministers have also had the opportunity to work closely with him. I'm sure that within the time, he took note and studied where the interests, the strengths, the capabilities of each and everybody lied. And so, yes, I may not have set out to be here, but I think that one always has to have the capacity to learn on the job, adapt to the situation on the ground. And I think that, speaking for myself, I've adapted quite well, quite quickly. And I've made fantastic friends in the sporting environment.
So when His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo said go into the sports sector, didn't you say, His Excellency, this place there I don't want. Can you give me another place?
Well, by nature, I'm the one who wants challenges.
Okay.
In fact, I like to do difficult things. Okay. So, yes, I was a little worried. I had heard all kinds of stories about the Ministry of Youth and Sports, but I think that I was keen in getting in there and facing whatever challenges or structural difficulties that may have existed in the past, and to see how I can contribute my quota in reforming and reshaping and redirecting the narrative and giving a different face to the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
I'm sure you know that for every human institution and for every person you have your critics. What do you say to people who say your appointment was a reward for your loyalty to Nana Akufo-Addo?
Well, I do not regret being loyal to my party and to my candidate and to my president and to my country. Yeah. I'm a loyal person by nature, and so I will continue to be loyal to my country, Ghana. I'll be loyal to my president. Importantly, I'll be loyal to my party. I'll be loyal to my minister. I'll be loyal to my friends. And so there's nothing wrong with loyalty. But it is wrong. But it is wrong that it is a reward for loyalty. In fact, I think that there are people who have served the party even more than my good self. And I'm humbled by my appointment. I do not think that it is because I did something that those others didn't do. Okay.
You speak glowingly about Nana Akufo-Addo and your sector minister who you work with, but if someone like Kweku Bako says that there is tension between you and your minister, Ghanaians have cause to worry, don't they? Is there tension between you and your minister?
Well, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So why do you think Kweku Bako would say the thing he said?
Well, I do not know what Kweku Bako said. Okay. I'm hearing it from you now about tensions. And so, but like I said, I have a relationship with my minister that is hinged on loyalty. Okay. That is hinged on respect. And that's what I know. I am told heard all kinds of stories. I am not in the position to confirm or deny, anything. What I know is what I know, is that I have a good relationship with my minister, and we have continued to work together as a team. It's a human institution. We may have had our differences on one or two issues, but I think that we are matured enough to know that in any human environment there can be one or two disagreements, but is that a source of tension? Is there bad blood? I am not sure there is. I do not know what basis anybody will have to say there is.
Okay. You are a very bubbly person. Now, you spent time with you in the US when we went for the Ghana, Mexico, and Ghana US games, and I can attest to your lively nature and how you receive people. However, in the last couple of months, you've become a bit reserved. I could be wrong, but I realized that you are not as out there as you used to be. What has been the challenge? Is it because of the suspension you suffered? Is it because of things you have learned over the last couple of months? What is it?
Well, it could be a combination of all the things you have said. Maybe I'm growing old, but I think that the experiences of what has happened, honestly speaking, also have taken their toll, and I am learning to take the backstage much more. It is looking like the Chinese say, it is the nail that is showing that gets hammered. And so sometimes you don't want to show too much lest you get hammered. Yes. So maybe, but maybe also age is beginning to.
I want us to touch on a topic a lot of Ghanaians want to have some clarity on, which is the 2018 Commonwealth Games visa scandal. And a lot of things have been bandied around. Some high-profile names like yourself, like the chairman of the NSA board, and like the chairman and the CEO of the NSA, names came up. Suspensions were meted out. However, in the last couple of weeks, Nana Akufo-Addo said, after investigations, you've been exonerated and you've been reinstated. Tell me, how was life during those moments when you were being investigated, from someone who was adored by the media, etc., to someone who is now being investigated and whose job was on the line?
Well, adored by the media, that's a compliment I take in good faith. I hope that the adoration would not go down. I sincerely didn't have a problem with the suspension. I thought the president took the right decision. Something had happened. People were worried. If you monitored the airwaves, a lot of concern was being raised about this. Being a listening president, being somebody who cares about the image of corporate Ghana, the president was worried, and the president thought that the matter should be investigated. I didn't have a problem at all. I didn't even have a problem with stepping aside because I didn't want it to be said that I was still in the position to even affect or effect the investigation in any form or manner. So I didn't have any problem with being asked to step aside. I didn't have any problem with all this because deep down in my heart, I knew I was innocent. And I knew that any fair investigation was only going to get one result: exonerate me. Okay. I was only worried that the investigation should be fair, it should be quick. Those were my only worries. But I did not have a problem at all because deep down in my heart, I knew that I was not directly involved in the visa acquisition processes of the journalists or of anybody for that matter. Okay? As a sports minister, as deputy sports minister, I do not select our national teams. We leave this to the federations to do because it's a technical matter. If we want to find swimmers to go and swim for Ghana, I'm not qualified and competent to select those swimmers. It will be for the swimming federation and the coaches of the swimming federation. And so they will submit their list. And I do not even need to know the persons, okay? I need to know the numbers, because we have to budget for them. We have to buy their air tickets. We have to give them their feeding and all that. We need the numbers to plan. And I was worried about the numbers. The individuals, these were left for the coaches and the federations to take care of. So I did not handle even visas for our technical team. I even know some people who were asked to come back who were journalists, but who failed to convince the border authorities in Australia that they were journalists. We do a lot of tree journalism here. And if you are speaking English and you expect that the journalist should be able to communicate in a certain manner, and that expectation is not met, that's what you know. But in Ghana, we also know that we have tree-speaking radio stations, and people have a certain mastery over the tree than maybe in English or in French, and so on and so forth. So if those expectations were not met and people were asked to come back, that is a situation that we can discuss.
Do you accept a certain level of responsibility, knowing that you were the chairman of the International Games Committee, and you played a part in the organization and the preparation of Team Ghana to the tournament? You may not have directly been involved, but do you accept that as chairman of the International Games Committee, maybe a certain level of blame?
No, I am sad that what happened, and it seeks to mar the rather hard work we put in at the International Games Committee level. And if you speak to the athletes and officials, and this is on record, they themselves have spoken about it, the kind of preparation that we put into the Commonwealth Games. For a long time in Ghana, journalists, athletes, officials, they hadn't seen that. We had a three-phased approach preparation. First of all, we had the non-residential campaign for about a month. We gave resources to the federations to train their athletes. Non-residential means the athletes came from home and trained and went back home. We did that for about a month. And then we did residential camping. This one, all the athletes were camped. Then again, long before the game started, we actually moved the team to Australia for almost another month to do the pre-games camping. This is at the cost of the state, at the cost of the ministry. For the longest of times, we did anti-doping and anti-doping education. You understand? Because, we didn't want that embarrassment of a Ghanaian athlete who maybe just out of lack of knowledge would take in something and then now fall foul of the anti-doping requirements. Even the medals you speak about, regrettably, I can assure you that it is this unfortunate development also played its part in us not being able to meet our targets. I can tell you, I was in Ghana here. I was suspended when the game was still going on. The athletes, because we had built a relationship. I used to visit them in camp. I used to sleep in camp with them. I used to eat their food with them in camp. We had built a relationship, and they began to trust me. And when the news broke, I had to call athletes in Australia and encourage them. They were weeping to me on the phone, and I had to speak to their general captain. He would pass the phone around, and I would encourage them. I would assure them that I'm innocent and they need to do this. And so I believe everybody was broken, everybody was down. A lot of the officials you spoke to, they didn't see this coming. And so there was a certain amount of loss of steam. We were all demoralized to a little extent. If you ask if I'll be able to accept responsibility for what happened, as a leader, I'm not going to run away from anything. But if Ghana Web, for instance, I'm choosing Ghana Web because you are interviewing me. If Ghana Web goes to apply for their own visa and got it and travel to Australia, and they get to Australia and we find out that apart from Mr. Odro, who everybody knows is a journalist, accomplished one for that matter, is on the ticket of Ghana Web, but Pius Hadzide, who doesn't work with Ghana Web, also finds his name on that list. Independent arrangement that Ghana Web does, just because they were going to cover the Commonwealth Games, to ask the minister to accept responsibility for it will be pushing it a little too far. And to that extent, I cannot accept that I can be responsible for something that I'm not responsible for.
Okay, so 2 questions so that we wrap up on this visa scandal and then enter the last phase of our conversation. 2 things. How do we ensure that what happened in Australia doesn't happen again? And do you agree with those like myself who say the president at least should disclose the full report that the CID did, which eventually exonerated you? Do you subscribe to that?
Well, there's no problem with that. The communication is out there. It's clear that the only reason why the report is not out is because the police is still doing some work.
Okay.
And I do not want to. That's what we all know. But the point is that Pius is not guilty. The board chairman is not guilty. Somebody is not guilty of all the allegations made. But is it possible some other people were guilty, and so on and so forth? Maybe these were the issues that the police are still following up.
Okay.
I do not want to sound preemptive of the report because I haven't seen the report. Okay. But the communication from the presidency, which I heard, is that the police is still following up on some leads, and that at the proper time an announcement will be made. The second part, which is how do we make sure that this doesn't happen? I think that that's a question we all have to answer. But one of the critical issues I want to discuss is that we all need to get people to understand what the roles of the various stakeholders are. As Deputy Minister, what was my role? At the International Games Committee, what is our role? At the National Sports Authority, what is our role? At the GOC, what is their role? The media who is interested in going to cover a sporting event, what is their role? I think that there's a lot of inadequate appreciation of what the various roles are. And so once it is a sporting event, people think that, oh, has to be the minister. And I think that I would want to employ the media especially to help us push this education forward.
I see the ministry has issued a press release, not to cut you, that they are not supporting media guys and supporters again. Is that one of the measures? And in that statement, in that press release, there was a paragraph that says that it is as a, if you like, a cure to prevent what happened, a repetition of what happened at the Commonwealth Games. Is that one of the many steps that the ministry is taking to ensure that what happened in Australia doesn't happen again?
Well, I'm not aware of that press statement.
Okay.
It has been brought to my notice.
Okay.
I'm not aware of it. What I know, however, is that we did not, as a ministry, we did not take journalists to Australia. We did not take supporters to Australia. We did not.
Okay.
And so whatever decision that we are taking cannot be because of what happened in Australia. We did not take journalists to Australia. We did not take supporters to Australia.
We're still here on Sports Check on Ghana Web TV. My name is Daniel Ojo. Today I've been having a conversation with the Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Mr. Pius and Hadzide. We've been exploring a lot of issues, and it's opened up for the first time about the Australia visa scandal. We're wrapping up our interview, but I want to pick his thought on what is happening in Ghana football, the GFA crisis, the Anas expose, and what the way forward is. Honorable, there's a halt in terms of local football, club football. Many people are worried, the stakeholders are worried that the ministry is determined to dissolve the Ghana Football Association. Many say we could reform it instead of dissolving it. Why this obsession to dissolve it?
Well, I'm here to support the policy direction of the Honourable Minister, and I stand firmly behind the Minister in his attempt to restructure the footballing environment in Ghana. It has become problematic, and if you may, the straw that broke the camel's back being Anas's number 12.
Yeah.
And determination was made that drastic action needed to be taken to restore confidence in our game and to win back credibility for our sports. And that has my total support. Once we are at it, I think that we as a ministry are open for discussions, and people can offer constructive criticism and also make proposals on the way forward. Let me also seize the opportunity to say that this situation of match fixing, bribery in sports, in football, is not something that as a ministry we were unconcerned about or we did nothing about. We were very concerned. The minister was concerned. And I recall that as far back as November of last year, the Honorable Minister had reason to ask me, instruct me to write to the BNI to investigate allegations of corruption and match fixing. Yes, and I did. Even before the NAS in November last year.
Wow.
And so we
and
ourselves.
This was involving a local game?
Yes, the local game. We wanted an investigation of the league and how the matches were being played. And we wrote a letter instructing the BNI because they have the proper capacity and authority to investigate. They have the know-how. I may not know how to do some of these secret videoing and all that. I don't have that competence. And so the minister instructed and we wrote. And we were waiting for the evidence. And we were going to also take drastic action. So far, the action that you described is what has been happening. It started in my absence when I was still on suspension. But ever since I have come, my unalloyed support is for the minister's position. Whilst at the same time, I believe that even the minister is open to hear what other proposals people have.
Some of your friends were implicated in the video. How do you feel about that? Have you spoken with them?
Well, I have.
Shocked by some of the content of it?
I have. I do not want to get into that just yet. Okay. Questions of method, questions of intent have been raised. The people you spoke about, when I speak to them, they have, these are their concerns. I haven't fully interrogated that matter yet. What I know is that Anas normally would do a good job, and so that's what I'm relying on. But that is not to say that people have not raised questions of method, they haven't raised questions of intent, and so on and so forth. So let's see how it pans out.
Before we go, is it true that you have a problem with Mr. Benoni Mensah, the GOC president?
No, it's not. I don't. Ben and I are good friends. We are Catholics, and we even pray together. Okay. I mean, so I do not know, and we speak on the phone. It's a human institution. I was chairman of the IGC. Was a major stakeholder in the IGC. Yes, did we have differences? Yes, we had differences at the meeting. But I mean, at the end of the day, decisions were taken, and we moved on.
Finally, before we go, sir, I hear you have a very huge constituency in your you have a huge fan base in your constituency in the Volta region, and it's the reason Nana Akufo-Addo reinstated because he was going there. Do you have political ambitions in terms of becoming maybe
president?
Vice president? Is that in the
No. I do not. I believe that God fashions out our future. We live by faith, trusting that He who is the ultimate schemer of things would determine our future. And so I do not plan my future. I leave it in the hands of God to take care of. So I do not have any such presidential ambitions. Yes. Do I want to grow in politics? Yes. I want to grow in politics. Do I have people in politics I admire? Yes. The president is my greatest mentor, and I God willing, would love to become like him. But I mean, that doesn't determine anything that I do. I do admit that we do have quite a following in the Volta region and in Esojamine. That's my other constituency, but that is not it. If that were the case, then we'll be suggesting that is why the police did the investigation that way. The only reason why the president made the announcement he made was because of the report of the police. Trust you me, if the report had indicted me, the president was not going to bring me back, irrespective of my popularity in the Volta region. If the report had indicted me, I am too sure I wasn't going to come back. Okay, the only reason why I was brought back is because I was exonerated after the investigations. I'd heard these comments, but around the same time, I was just suspended. There were other colleagues in government who were not just suspended, but were dismissed. The CEO of Kolebu, for instance, Dr. Anya, is a major pillar from the Volta region, and another CEO, my sister from the Ghana Investment Promotion, no, not the investment, Ghana Export Promotion Council, Honorable Gifty Clenham, another major force from the Volta. They were actually, as it were, dismissed just around the same time the president was going into the Volta region. Okay. So it couldn't be a political decision.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with the Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Mr. Pius and Hadzide. Today is opened up for the very first time about the issues that happened in Australia during the Commonwealth Games that Ghana participated in. He's also been speaking about his relationship with the GOC president, with his boss, and what the ministry is doing to develop the game in football. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the pleasure of your company. We're back same time next week with another edition of the show. Until then, keep well.